Now, your WLNY Sports Desk.
Welcome to the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Rapoport, in for Steve Overmeyer tonight. Well, we're 1 week away from the most prestigious race for trotters in North America, the 94th running of the Hambletonian at the Meadowlands, a race you can see next Saturday afternoon on the CBS Sports Network. Joining us tonight to talk about the big race is Hall of Fame driver and president of the Hambletonian Society, John Campbell. John, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Scott. It's my pleasure to be here.
You know, you tell me they call this race the Super Bowl of harness racing. Why is it so important?
Well, there's just so much history and pageantry to it. It's been at the Meadowlands since, I believe, 1981. The Meadowlands is the flagship racetrack for harness racing in the world. So when you combine all those things, it's one of those races that everybody in our industry, from the time they start with foals that are born, they want to try and get a horse for the Hambletonian.
Who do you like in this race? You're telling me there's some stellar horses. Yeah,
it's kind of a unique situation, although not unparalleled. But I think the three top contenders are all from the same stable. Marcus Melander, a really good young trainer from Sweden, has a horse called Green Shoe, who has just tremendous ability, and I think maybe more natural talent than any trotter that I've ever seen to this point.
Really? That's something coming from you.
Well, it is, and it's kind of unusual. He had the two-year-old champion of the year last year, who was undefeated, and he hasn't lost a race this year, and I think he's maybe his second-best horse going into the Hambletonian. And then he's got another one called Green Manalishi, who is a very good horse in his own right. So he's got three of the main contenders in there. And, so there's a lot of pressure on Marcus.
Okay, so let's do some remedial work now for people who may not be so familiar with the sport. The difference between harness racing and thoroughbred racing, Professor.
Well, the thoroughbreds, obviously, the jockey rides on his back. Our horses are hooked to a sulky. The driver sits in the sulky and has what we call lines, and he has to guide them and rate them. The gait is totally different. Thoroughbreds gallop. Our horses trot and pace. Now, the trotters for the Hambletonian are what we call a diagonal gaited. It's just like a horse trotting slowly, only they do it at higher speeds. Mm-hmm. And the breed has just improved dramatically, where we used to think a 2-minute mile was a great mile at one time, and now these horses are going in 150 and below that even for the trotters, which is really remarkable how natural gaited these trotters have become.
Now, I was going to actually ask you about some of the finer points between the two types of horse racing, but you brought up the trotting part. They call them the trotters. Are they trained to do this? How hard is it to train them to do this? It looks like almost a natural type of gait.
It has become natural for them. It used to, years back, it used to be very difficult to get them to trot, and they just weren't as natural. But the breed has become so refined in the last 25 to 30 years that it's just very natural. These horses come in, and you'll hear trainers come in. The natural thing is for a horse to break over into a gallop, but the breed has changed so much that they'll just go out and trot, and trainers will train, and they just don't go off stride. They know that's their job. That's what they're bred to do and trained to do, and that they can do it.
Is it immediate? Do they just naturally get the hang of it?
It varies from horse to horse. Some of them, it comes very natural to. Others you have to work with. And then once they kind of get the hang of it, away they go. So it varies, and that's where the training technique and the patience comes in. The trainers have to be, very patient, and obviously, through their experience, figure out what will make that horse perform at his best.
Now, normally the Hambletonian is run in heats, so the horses actually race twice a day in these cases. I think this is the last year they're doing that. Is that too demanding on a horse, twice a day, 2-a-days?
It is more demanding. There's no question about that. But all these horses are monitored so well, and our breed has been a more durable breed. They used to race 3 and 4 heats, back years ago. But they'll be monitored. The caretakers and trainers, they spend so much time with these horses, and it's their livelihood. On top of that, we're going to have New Jersey regulatory vets will monitor all the horses in between races. So if a horse comes out of a race and he's not just the way he should be, he will be scratched.
But 2-a-days, can the horse continue to perform at a high level? What does it take out of a horse to run a race and then have to do it again, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, it depends on that first race. Now, you want to try and win your first heat because you get an advantage for post position in the second heat if you do win. Having said that, you want to win as cautiously as you possibly can to try and save something for that second heat. But it's amazing. They will go out there on adrenaline on that second heat and perform just at a high level. It's amazing just how much the adrenaline and their competitiveness kicks in for that second heat.
Okay, so for bettors, who do you put your money on? The horse with stamina, the horse with speed? Obviously, you'd like both, but if you have to make a choice, what are you looking for?
Well, it's very difficult because there is no other races before this with 2 heats, so it's kind of an unknown who has the stamina. I would just go with what I think the best horse is. Obviously, Green Shoe is going to be a tremendous favorite, but if he minds his manners and behaves and performs like he has every start this year, he's going to be very difficult to beat.
Besides a horse's record, what else can someone look for in a horse? Are there telltale signs besides the history and performance of the horse that lets you know this is a good one, this is maybe who I should be betting on or taking?
Well, it's something coming up to a big race that I always looked at when I was a driver, and I think it helps bettors as well, is just the form of the horse and how he's finishing his last quarters. The last quarters are the most important ones, and you want to look at a horse's form and on his program and make sure his last quarters are below 28, 27 apiece, maybe even 26 apiece. I think that's a good barometer that a horse is coming up to the race in good form.
So big changes coming to the Hambletonian. This will be the last year of the heats. Tell me about that and why that's significant.
Well, I think it helps our handle. It's very difficult to get information to all our simulcast outlets and the off-track betting markets for that second heat. So it's going to be easier for us to market the race. Obviously, the welfare of the horse is a factor. You know, we don't want these horses stressed any more than what they have to be. And we just think it'll be a better overall event for business-wise, from a horse welfare and safety standpoint, and we're looking forward to it.
Now, the Hambletonian isn't just for horse racing fans anymore. It's become quite a family day. Tell me what events are to offer, what's being offered as well, besides for people who are just coming to watch the horses.
Well, we're going to have a band down in the backyard. That's, the paddock park type of area that we have, and there'll be a big screen TV at the head of the stretch for those people who watch the races. We've got pony rides, we've got face painters, we've got glitter tattoo artists, we've got carnival rides and games, Hambo ponies, gifts for kids, 6 food trucks, and lots of ice cream for everybody.
How many people will come to see this?
We're hoping around 20,000.
And is it normally a kid-friendly thing, or is it becoming more so and evolving into that?
It evolved into that rather quickly when the Hambletonian moved to the Meadowlands in the early 80s. They accentuated the family experience, and it's become a tradition for families with young children to come and enjoy everything about the races and the Hambletonian.
Finally, last weekend, a lot of the tracks were closed because of the brutal heat. Monmouth Park took some criticism for remaining open. Is there a misconception that some horsemen don't care about the welfare of the horses? Have you heard that? Is that in their play?
It's certainly something I've heard, and having been around horses all my life, the overwhelming majority of these trainers and caretakers, they're in love with their horses. Horses have an addiction quality to them, and that's what brought me to the game. I grew up with them. I've never lost that love of horses, and I don't think there's hardly any trainer in any horse racing breed that got in because he didn't love horses. It's just an innate ability to be around these animals, and you have to care for them. Your livelihood depends on it, but they almost to a man, they develop an attachment to them.
Awesome to meet you, good sir. Thank you kindly for your time. That is Hall of Fame driver and president of the Hambletonian Society, John Campbell. John, thanks for joining us, and good luck this weekend.